Facebook, and welcome to the broadcast. This is Leland Best coming to you from my home studio along the Shiawassee River in Corona, Michigan. So I want to thank you for coming today. I have a special guest. Thanks to the efforts of Rehan Allahwala, we are mutual friends out here on Facebook. I've never met this gentleman before in my past, but I would like to welcome to the show Arnon Katz from Tel Aviv, Israel. So welcome to the broadcast. How are you today?
Thank you, Leland. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very well. Spring is here. Weather is excellent, and I'm very happy to be invited to your show.
I've been waiting patiently for spring. It's been kind of sloppy, rainy weather over here in Michigan, in the U.S., and I'm a very fond fan of Israel myself, obviously, because I'm also Jewish, and I noticed recently that you were attached to Rehan, and he asked that I do this interview. So could you tell me a little bit about, first, how you connected with Rehan Allahwala and when, and what that was like as an experience?
Well, I'm involved with the internet for many years, actually, from the day it started here in Israel, somewhere back in 92, 93. And for us, internet was not only a business opportunity, but I think it was, we saw it as an opportunity to bring change to the world, to open the world, to bring people together, to let people learn about each other. And about a few years ago, I met Rehan in the social network, I assume. I don't really remember the occasion, but I started to follow Rehan activity, and I thought he's doing something really wonderful. His ability to connect people, it's exceptional. And one day, after many discussions that we had, we even decided to meet together. And both of us made an effort. We went to Istanbul, and we spent 2 days together, which were really amazing. I learned a lot about his activity, and we become even better friends when we finally met physically. And I remember one of the questions that I asked him, and he gave me actually a very good answer. I told him, Rehan, you know, it's very nice what you're doing. You connect one person, two person, three person, but the gap, the cultural gap and difference between people is so big, and so many people around the world doesn't really have the time to learn and know about each other. But you seem to never give up.
Exactly.
And Rehan told me, listen, I do my best. I connect dot by dot by dot by dot. I do what I can do. And hopefully one day all these dots will come together to a nice picture. And I must admit that in the last year, I found out that what Rehan started as a little drop become to a rainy, big rain of people who talk, who share ideas, opinions, and learn about each other, which is really magnificent.
Absolutely. And I have to admit, I'm rather blessed myself. I've only known Rehan for a couple of weeks now, but since he found a video of mine somewhere on Facebook, and he tagged me in it and mentioned me as a live broadcaster, and it kind of shocked me because I didn't know Rehan at all. I saw a verified account from someone in Pakistan, and what happened after that was incredible, because I started to meet all of these people from Pakistan, India, Kashmir, and other surrounding territories, even some new folks that I didn't already know from Israel, like yourself. And it was because of Rehan's effort using a book that he wrote called Add Me, which was his methodology of connecting people around the world with Facebook. And his mission is to get 1 million people connected to each other. And I know his following so far is about 172,000 people on Facebook, and that doesn't include his network of nearly 750,000 individuals. So I can only imagine how many friends you took on over the last few years knowing Rehan, because I've just recently been introduced to you thanks to him. So can you give us a little idea of, I know you've been a businessman with regards to the internet, and it seems to me from watching your page that you travel a lot. So is your business strictly internet oriented, or can you tell us a little bit about what you do in your daily business life?
Yeah, sure. I dealt with internet for many years. I was entrepreneur. I created a lot of ventures related to internet. But about 4 years ago, I have decided that I want to do something totally different. Um, I decided after so many years in the same field that it's not possible for me to stay only in one field, and
I agree.
I have to do something totally different. Then I was concerned it might be not interesting enough for me, but I decided to move into real estate. And I started to work on a project in New York and a project on Budapest.
Oh, okay.
And now I have a project in Poland, in Warsaw. And apparently I found it very, very interesting because wherever I go, and I like to travel, I always like to travel, and I meet new people from different places, different cultures, and I'm very curious about this. So I'm very happy that I started doing something totally different from I did before. It forced me to learn and to study all the related aspect of my new profession, and also it forced me to learn about the culture of the people who I'm working with in different territories. I work with people in Budapest or in Poland or New York. It's a totally different game.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's at the end of the day, it's for me an opportunity to learn and to explore new experiences. And when people ask me what do I do, my intuitive answer is that I'm an explorer. I see myself as
like
an
that.
explorer. I explore
I like that.
I explore new topics.
Yeah.
I explore new ideas. I explore the future with my enthusiasm of technology.
Okay.
And I also explore religion, culture, whatever.
And that's awesome because I've come to be that type of person that's worn many hats. I started as an accounting student. I took on work as an accountant with General Motors, and then I got kind of bored with the number. I thought I was going to be a CPA all my life, and it didn't turn out that way. I ended up in a motorcycle accident, which changed my direction, and I ended up going into drafting with a civil engineering company, and ended up staying in civil engineering for 25 years. Even though the last 15 were on my own as a designer, I learned a new trade, and then from there I learned another trade, and I became a fireman, and I learned another trade, and I've done all kinds of different things, and now I'm live broadcasting as an interview host, show producer, editor, all that kind of stuff. So I enjoy the fact that we have that freedom in the world when we can take it, if we have that freedom. Obviously not everyone in the world has that luxury, of course, and I think that's why it's so important for me and this mission of Rehan's when it comes to the people of Pakistan and India and Kashmir and other surrounding territories who are deprived of access to the world. They're just now realizing that there are many other people just like them that want to connect, that want to become their friends and want to know more about them. And that's why we do these interviews. It's so that we can connect people who may never ever get to see the other side of the world. I probably will never make a trip, and I shouldn't say that. I would love to go to Pakistan and Israel, but for me right now, that's not even within my radar. I haven't really set that up to be a primary goal, but I do intend on making that come true someday. So I saw that you just recently traveled to Morocco. Can you tell us a little bit about what that trip was all about and why you were over there?
Sure, and I have a little anecdote about it related to what you said. I went to Morocco together with my older son. He's 23 years old, and he joined me. And during our discussion, he told me, Daddy, I'm very confused. I'm 23. I want to do things, but I'm confused. I don't know what exactly to do, where to go, how to do it. And I said to him, wow, this is great, because it's a good sign. If you were not confused, I would be very worried about it.
I get it.
Because in your age, I was confused as much as I'm confused now sometimes. People ask me, or think because I have a business experience, that I know what I'm doing, and I tell him no. I wake up in the morning and I say, what the hell is going on? I have to learn every day to learn from the beginning.
Absolutely.
And just this afternoon, one of my friend on Facebook from Pakistan shared with me his concern. He's a young engineer, student for engineering.
I've met a lot of those. Yes, I've met a lot.
He told me, listen, I'm very confused. I don't know how to start. I don't know where to start. I say, oh, that's the good news. If you are confused, you have a potential to become a businessman or whatever you decide. So, I mean, in that I hear the confusion of the young people because there's so many things open for them. And I said, don't worry. This is a reasonable feeling to be confused. I think it's even good to be confused because it forces you to think and ask the questions. We raise in society that praise answers, but I think it's much more important to ask questions.
I totally agree with that.
The most important.
Yes.
Any young person, whether he lives in America or in Pakistan or in Israel or wherever, don't worry about the answer. Worry about the question. Raise question all the time. Raise question. And if you go back to Morocco, actually my son raised this option. He said, "Why don't we go to Morocco?" And I say, "You know what? It's not a bad idea. We've never been there. It's one of a few Arab countries that we are as Israeli can go.
True.
Welcome there."
Yes.
I was a bit worried. I said, regard the visa, maybe we're going to have some difficulties in the airport. But the moment the inspector in the border control checked my Israeli passport, and I saw the smile on his face, and he said to us, "Marhaba, welcome to our country." I felt totally comfortable, and I realized that actually we are welcome to this country. And it was a fascinating trip. We spent 1 week. We were in Casablanca, in Marrakesh. We went to the desert, to the Sahara Desert, and to a place, a very small village called Merzouga.
Oh, okay.
That is located really nowhere, just on the gate of the Sahara Desert with all these sandy mountains. And one of the things that attract my attention that all the people around us are busy with their smartphones. All of them.
Oh, really?
Even the Berbers on their camels, just riding the camel with the
Really?
using the smartphone.
That reminds me, I have to say, just not to interrupt, but I want to bring the point up because I have a very close and dear friend named Didar who is from Pakistan. And he has taken me on this wild adventure around all of he's buried down in the valley, surrounded by sand dune mountains and cliffs and everything, but he's in this nice lush valley, and they have cattle, they have camels, he harvests wheat, and it's the kind of thing that, yes, he's the same way. He has this little new iPhone, I think he uses, where he's out showing us everything that goes on around his little part of the world, and I even question, where are they getting this awesome internet signal from so that they can share this data? So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from in that regard. So I just want to point out one other thing too with Morocco, so that some of the people can see this. There is something about the Moroccan, and I found this on your Facebook wall the other day, and I'm just going to share this for just a moment. It's going to cover our screen, and then we'll come right back. This is an image of a flag that used to exist years ago. And you asked the question on social media, does anyone know where this flag came from? So most should see, obviously, that was the Jewish Star of David that was on that red flag. But can you tell us what that flag was and where it came from?
Well, this is a very interesting story. That the guy who care for us in Morocco, his name Ali. and he's a friend of mine on Facebook. So everybody are welcome to to add him as a friend. He's such a fascinating guy, and Ali, in a very short time, learned very good Hebrew.
Oh, cool.
And he speak fluent Hebrew.
אני ימין קצת ערבית.
He understands very well Hebrew. And apparently in the last 2-3 years, he is guiding many people who are coming from Israel to Morocco.
Oh, nice.
And I had no clue about this flag and about the reason for this flag, but when he showed me this flag, I was really surprised. And then he also showed me some coins that for centuries have the Magen David
Nice.
on them.
Nice.
And actually he gave me as a gift. He bought me a gift, this coin, so I have a few coins with me. And what he suggests, and I learned it also from the Berbers in the desert, that the Jews and the Arabs and the Berbers in Morocco had very good relationships for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So some of the Jews came to Morocco through the desert maybe more than 2,000 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And they were involved with trade. They were
Gotcha.
Morocco located in a place which is a junction between Europe, Africa, and Asia, and therefore a lot of trade traffic in the old days passed through Morocco. And the Jews were traders, and they were in a way like the Berbers. They were nomads. They were traveling around the world, moving goods from one place or to another. Trade a lot with the salt. We learned it from the locals that they trade a lot with salt, and in Morocco they feel so welcome and so protected, so many of them decide to stay in Morocco. And actually in that area, in the Sahara area, near each village, there were also small village of the Jewish community, which they call Melach, because of the salt.
Yeah.
And so the cultures were very much together.
Yeah.
I've learned that some of them got married together. They used sometimes they used the same synagogue, the same mosque to pray.
Wow. That's incredible.
And also at the golden age in Spain, they learned together theology, they learned together science and philosophy.
Yes.
So the relation at that time were very strong, and until this age. And the flag, this Magen David flag, was in use till the 1917.
Wow.
In
So not that long ago.
Yeah, one of the French protectors, which the Moroccan didn't really like, decided to change the flag. They didn't like the idea that they have a flag with such a Jewish symbol.
Yeah, I understand.
And they decided to change it, and I found it really fascinating. Another thing that I've learned, that we were very welcome there. People of different communities in Morocco were very happy to meet us, and they asked us, they told, bring people from Israel to visit us. We miss the Jewish community, we miss our Jewish friends.
Nice.
We always had good relationship with them, and that's part of the story that it was really fascinating. We really felt at home over there.
Well, I'm sure, coming from Tel Aviv, Israel, and over to Moroccan, it's a primarily Arab state, correct, as far as Morocco goes?
Yeah, it is. It's an Arab Muslim state.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And that's what's been so enlightening for me also, just getting to know, like, I always pictured Pakistan being, of course, 99% Muslim, that they spoke Arabic and whatever. I had no clue. And when I started to connect with people and realized that there was a division over there between Pakistan and India that's taken place that makes it difficult for them to get along. That it was the Hindi language and the Urdu language, and yet both of them spoke primarily a lot of English. It was so amazing for me to go and start speaking with these young students from engineering schools and doctors and lawyers and all these other professionals over in Pakistan. I was just blessed to know and to find.
Not to mention the food.
Oh, exactly. I can't wait to try the food, to be honest with you. That's what I'm looking forward to.
The food is the same.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Pakistani and Indian, the same.
Yeah.
Look, we have to look at this in a long-term perspective and to understand that these areas like India and Pakistan were not divided. It was one country.
Yeah.
India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, it was one country.
Absolutely.
All the Arab countries had no borders. It's a new thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
It was not exist. There was an Arab area from Turkey to Morocco. It was open. Everything was open.
Wow.
Only the Brits and the French made this divide.
That would be true.
These places
Yes.
to different countries.
Yeah.
Which till today we have some difficulty to digest in these areas.
I think you're right, and that's part of the reason a friend of mine, Stephen Healy, and I put together a show called Across the Pond, which is between the U.S. and the U.K. to try to understand each other a little bit better, because obviously we all have similar cultures in one way or another when it comes to family and food, and everybody changes things up for their own likings. But across the globe, I think what I've come to realize for myself, which I didn't before, is how many common things that we have. How many things that we actually are much like the other and not so much different as we tend to think that we are. And there's been so much misconception, so much garbage in the mainstream media, and coming from the elitists that are up higher in control and in power that want us to believe certain things about these countries and these people so that we don't interact as much as we do now. And now with live streaming and the ability to come out here on Facebook or on YouTube and connect with each other, not only one-to-one but face-to-face, and not just through text messages, to be able to sit and communicate is part of the goal and the reason that Rehan is doing what he's doing. So it's been my pleasure to work with Rehan in having these interviews with individuals who he's already connected with globally and get them to see and understand each other much better. So in order for us to understand you a little better and to wrap up this interview for today, we're already at the 22-minute mark. I'd like to wrap this up within the half hour. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, Arnan, and I'd appreciate you just give as candid an answer as you possibly can. They're very generalized questions. These are actually used by John Lipton when he finishes off one of his behind-the-scenes interviews with Hollywood stars over on the West Coast, but these aren't related to Hollywood at all. So my first question for you before we leave you today is, what's your favorite word, Arnan? Your favorite word from the dictionary?
My favorite word by far is love. I think love is the most important thing in life. Love, it belongs to anyone, everywhere, all over the world. And with this concept of love, we can solve any problem.
Just about anything.
On Earth, in a personal level or in general level.
And believe it or not, I'm getting that answer from a lot of the individuals that I've been interviewing recently, and it seems to be a common denominator between all of us people who like to connect and want to connect, is that it is about love. So the opposite of that would be, what's your least favorite word?
Hate, separation, hate, I would say.
I like that. And obviously there's some times when we talk about certain things, we know there are some things God himself hates, or herself, or itself, however we want to familiarize ourselves with an almighty being, and those can be found in scriptures and in insights. Wisdom obviously abounds when it comes to things that might be hated in a relatively normal way, but I totally agree with you on that. So what turns you on creatively, spiritually, and emotionally? Kind of all in one spot there, Arnan. Kind of combine all three senses together and tell me what really turns you on in that regard.
Yeah, well, One of the things I forgot to mention, in the last 2 years I am painting,
Nice. Nice.
and I think art is the most inspiring thing, because art is so open
Yes.
and it's so subjective
Yes.
that it can be art can be a playground for any idea without judgment.
Yes. And art isn't just what people tend to think of a painting on a wall. It's dance, it's music, it's sculpture, it's creativity, all of that combined. So that's a wonderful answer.
Way of
Yes.
thinking, way of experiencing things,
Very
way
cool.
of observing things.
And along those lines, what turns you off in those same sense?
I would say prejudgment, bias. When people believe there is a fixed set of rules that are right and all the rest is not relevant.
I don't know if you've I don't know if you've seen a recent commercial that Heineken just put out online, and I'll probably share the link here in this feed because it ties in so well with how he answered that question. Heineken Brewery, which I know Muslims in general do not touch alcohol. I get that, and that's totally understandable.
Some of them.
But yeah, that's true. And see, there I go again, prejudging what I think is true and it's not. So they did a commercial relative to that, and they brought several individuals of different backgrounds, different beliefs together. But before, they wanted them to like create this project together. And what they ended up creating was a bar. They built a bar, and they didn't know it because it was all in pieces. And in the end, they had to sit down with a beer in front of them, and then they played back some footage from before they even met that told the story of who each of these people were, and they put two total opposites together. Two people who one hated the other, and they didn't know it until after the entire building process was over, and they had a choice. They could either sit around and have a beer and talk about their differences, or they could walk away. And everyone stayed and talked and sat and got to know each other even better because their preconceptions were just so far off. And that was just wonderful. Okay, what sound or noise? What sound do you prefer to hear? What sound do you love?
I love the sound of the water
Nice.
in the sea. I like the wave, the sound of the wave. I think it's the most beautiful sound.
Absolutely. And on the opposite of that, which one would you not like to hear?
I don't like the noise of the gardener when they use this machinery to cut the grass in the morning. I hate this sound.
I get it. It's
It's
perfect. Yeah, I've had everything from motorcycles to trains to whatever. It's always something that disturbs your peace in the morning, I think, is what tends to be the worst noise in the world. All right, just a couple more here, Arnon, and we'll let you go. What profession other than what you're doing now, which might be difficult to answer this one, what profession other than what you're doing now would you like to attempt?
Well, I wish I could be an astronaut.
Oh, that's a good one.
I might miss it, but I never lose faith. And another thing that I always say to my friend, that I like to ask kids what they want to do when they will grow up.
Yeah.
For the reason that I want to find new ideas.
That's a good one. I never thought of it that way. That's because they're bound to show us something new at some point or another. And
Yeah, maybe that's new idea for me.
well, I just recently read that NASA actually has mission plans to send a man to Mars. So maybe you can be one of those first astronauts that goes to Mars. You never know.
Well, if they guarantee I can come back, I don't know.
Yeah, right. I mean, they never make it back. That's true. And what profession in the world would you never want to do?
I wouldn't want to be an accountant. Don't
Thank
be
you.
person.
Neither did I. No, I'm glad I'm not. I couldn't do it. The numbers drove me crazy. I couldn't stand it. So I was glad I didn't. All right. And one last question, Arnon. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Where have you been? I haven't seen you for ages.
That's awesome. I love it. Awesome answers to some questions that are asked to a lot of people in the world, and everybody seems to have their own little flair to answer those questions with. So I just want to thank you so much, Arnon, for taking time out of your day. We've been trying to touch base for a few days now, and we even spent a little time going back and forth this morning just trying to make this connection. And I look forward to learning more about you. I'm sure with the connection between us and Rehan and some of his other followers that we can do great things in the world if we just focus and put our minds to it. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with as an audience and where we can get in touch with you or find you out there on social media?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your time. It was a very interesting interview. I enjoyed it very much. I'm on Facebook. I think it's the best way to find me, Arnon Katz on Facebook. And if people are interested in my artwork, they can find them on Instagram.
Oh, okay, cool.
Under the name of Zorba 2012.
Zorba, S-O-R-B-A?
Z.
Oh, or I'm sorry, Z-O-R-B-A, right?
Yeah.
2012.
2012.
And that's at Instagram. Okay. I'm just going to put that text in there. If you can follow up in the chat after this is over, we are on at Leland Best Live. I just put your name handle in there so that if they want to find you on Instagram, maybe you can leave a link to your post and we'll go from there.
Lovely.
All right. And any other place besides that? Nope. All good?
Anyone who wants is welcome to visit me in Tel Aviv.
All right, I might take you up on that. I have some friends in Israel, and the ones that I know currently are living just outside of Jerusalem. So I would love to have the opportunity to come meet you that day that I come over there. I don't know if I'm going to make Aliyah just yet, but there may be that opportunity in the future. We'll see.
Step by step.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, we're going to leave it at that, and I want to thank my guest Arnon Katz for coming to us live from Tel Aviv, Israel. This, once again, is Leland Best coming at you from Corona, Michigan at Leland Best Live, and we will see you in the next live broadcast. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you on the next show.